Hey there guys, Godly Seafood here, back again with another Wizard101 character profile video. Today we'll be talking about a very influential character whose actions directly contribute to the main story as well as the story of Avalon. An egotistical, power-hungry knight who, much like a crypto investor in 2020, bet it all and lost big. The knight who fumbled an assassination so hard that history was wiped clean of his deeds. Brother to the Shadow Queen Morganth, today, we'll be taking a dive into the history of Sir Malory.
I just wanted to be king.
Sir Malory is a very interesting character in my opinion, given the fact that his story is all over the place. Seriously, we get to hear multiple different sides to his story, all of which come from highly biased sources which end up contradicting each other. Meaning that we have to pick apart every version of this man's story and put it together like a jigsaw puzzle just to figure out how bad this man fucked up. In order to get a clear picture of his history, I think we should start from the beginning. I don't remember reading this anywhere specifically, however I get the feeling that Malory's story starts sometime either before or at the very beginning of the Golden Age of Avalon. This would place his origins around 1 to 200 years ago before the events of the main story. For reference, Bastion fell to the Shadow Queen 100 years ago in the main story. By the time Morganth was engaged in her wars against Celestia and Chrysalis, she would have been an adult, and Malory would have been long dead. We are told by Malory himself that he grew up in the ringed fort of Dundara, located somewhere in the Weird Woods of Avalon, alongside his younger sister Morganth. Basically, some podunk town in the middle of bumblefuck nowhere. Except the road to this place was infested with Froudling camps, towers that were inhabited by cannibalistic giants and evil owl mages, as well as graveyards and abandoned churches that are home to any number of undead individuals. On top of it, at some point, a lightning dragon named Catalan took up residence right outside the gates and has been smiting any knights brave enough to face him. For anyone who paid attention to the Catacomb storyline, you might remember that the Woods of the Weird are the ancient home of the Druids who discovered the invisible branches of Bartleby that stretch out across the spiral known as ley lines. These ancient Druids would use these ley lines to travel to different worlds in the spiral, eventually making their way to the Raven Woods, where some of their descendants would later become Druidic tree minders before returning to the Weird Woods of Avalon after their war with the Dragonspirians. So yeah, Malory and his younger sister Morganth undoubtedly come from Druidic heritage, possibly even being descendants of later generation Druidic tree minders. Whereas Morganth would shine in her innate talent for magic, Malory was never said to possess any notable magic affinity, opting rather to walk the path of chivalry. Now, being a knight in the world of Avalon is no easy task. Not only does one need to possess a certain level of virtue, they must also prove themselves worthy by performing noble deeds and acts of heroism in an endeavor to spread peace throughout the land. Throughout the world of Avalon, there are knightly shrines that embody the noble virtues that basically govern a knight's code of conduct. In order from when our character comes across these shrines, we have the Shrine of Courage in the face of axe, sword, and poisoned arrow, the Shrine of Hospitality and Good Manners between foxes, dogs, badgers, otters, humans, and fairies, the Shrine of Loyalty in the face of gloom, melancholy, angst, bitterness, and snark, the Shrine to Nobility of kings, knights, and common people like you, the Shrine of Mercy of a gentle rain from above upon the place beneath on both givers and takers, whatever the fuck that is supposed to mean, and lastly, the Shrine of Justice for All based on a system of might for right rather than the old system of might makes right. These knightly virtues are based off the real-life philosophy of chivalry. A quick Google search revealed to me that there are somewhere around 4 to 7 knightly virtues depending on the source. Whereas we don't know exactly what acts or deeds Malory pursued to become a knight, we do know that he would eventually obtain this goal, being recognized as a Knight of Avalon. One of his earliest feats that we learn about comes directly from the Dryad Sophia Greensleeve.
My favorite wizard. You aided me father and husband both. How can I help? Malory? I do not know. You mean Sir Malory? He saved me mother from a giant's axe. If not for him, I'd not have known her songs and laughter. For that act alone, I'll always remember Malory's name.
As she tells it, Sophia and her mother were saved by Malory sometime after he had become a full-fledged knight, indicated by how she remembers him not as Malory, but Sir Malory. It would seem as though, for a time, Sir Malory was a virtuous hero. However, sometime later, he would eventually turn from the light, where he would go on to commit horrible, unspeakable deeds.
My road into shadow was twisted and marked with infamous deeds. I stole a divining treasure from the three-color serpent. It showed me a vision once, but in the end, I could not avoid my fate. I gazed upon the divining treasure, and it showed me the land will wither under his rule. The old way, the old king, is gone.
So yeah, Malory steals this magic item that shows him a vision of the future, and the way that he deals with this tells us a lot about his character. His answer to the problem of Avalon falling into ruin is to become king of Avalon itself by killing the current king. This man's basically just said, if that's how it's gonna be, then fuck it, we ball. In secret, Malory would go on to gather an army of Froudlings to fight against King Artorias in order to weaken his forces. For anyone who doesn't know, Froudlings are most of the enemies we see running rampant through the world of Avalon. The Froudling ranks include goblins, hobgoblins, ogres, Fomori giants, evil owl mages, spriggans, and some other random enemies I can't be bothered to remember. And occasionally worms. No, not the kind you'd use as fishing bait, but rather the ones that burn your holds and slaughter your people. On top of amassing a Froudling army, Sir Malory's sister, a young Morganth, had her own plans for taking the crown of Avalon. However, her motives are unknown, or at least I've never read anything in the main story or any side quests as to why Morganth would want to control the king rather than killing him like how Sir Malory wanted to. What we can say for certain is that Morganth is shown to be Malory's closest and only confidant, who had direct knowledge of the planned assassination.
Morganth, are you listening to me? Do what I say, and Artorias will fall. I have no patience to watch the people suffer while he dithers. I gazed upon the divining treasure, and it showed me the land will wither under his rule. The old way, the old king, is gone. This toothless bear lets too many foes nip at his heels. The people need a new, strong sword to follow. Once I sabotage his armor, the next friendly duel he accepts will be his last.
If only Malory would see there is another way. The Froudling magic holds the key to getting what we want, without hurting anybody.
You are meeting a Spriggan here? I will not treat with those dishonorable savages.
You will not treat with whom, Poxy Knight? I have brought the horned crown that Lady Morganth requested. It is potent magic of darkness and shadow. You have my reward.
Foul creature, your reward will be my blade.
You betray our pact. May your victory turn to ashes!
Morganth, take the horned crown and hide it away. I must go and ensure Artorias' armor is not fit for battle. If for whatever reason my plan is spoiled, then you must use the horned crown to enslave the king.
Brother, if your plan goes awry, I could not live on in Avalon without you. The horned crown contains a power I've not encountered in any of Merle Ambrose's teachings. It twists and turns by itself. I wonder if Ambrose has any theory of it inscribed in his tomes of forbidden knowledge.
Go, little sister, and prepare. I will see you when all of this is done and but a memory.
Right before their meeting takes place, Sir Malory finds out about the deal and encourages Morganth to turn on the Spriggan. Malory and Morganth battle Gisela, and after winning, take the horned crown for themselves, and presumably killed the Spriggan. There's no in-game dialogue saying they did this, but I mean, if you're about to assassinate the king and try and take control of him, you probably wouldn't want any witnesses. Sir Malory would tell Morganth to hide the crown away and only use it as a last resort should his plans to overthrow the king fail. This is probably the last time Malory and his sister see each other. One thing I'd like to note is that Malory seems to have had a high level of disdain when it comes to Spriggans in particular. I'm pretty sure he's just racist against all types of Froudlings. I mean, he grew up in the woods that would have been infested with Froudlings, and he was a knight for many years where he would have had to face off against any number of Froudlings. I don't think he had much respect for them at all, which is pretty funny considering the fact that Malory was building an army of Froudlings to overthrow King Artorius. You know what they say, keep your friends close but your enemies closer unless they are Froudlings, in which case, keep them close enough to be cannon fodder for your army. Sometime after their fight with the Spriggan, Sir Malory would sneak into Ganelon Keep and sabotage King Artorius' armor before his sporting duel with an aspiring knight. This aspiring knight was named Pike de Lago. From what we know, the duel would take place where King Artorius would be mortally wounded. I've always found it interesting how it is directly stated that King Artorius was mortally wounded in this duel because Malory sabotaged the king's armor, and we know for a fact that Pike de Lago was the aspiring knight in this friendly duel, and Pike de Lago would end up becoming a knight, presumably because of how well he did in this duel. And yet, this Mr. Krabs looking motherfucker never mentions the fact that he definitely was the one who struck the killing blow against the king. I always knew his eyes looked kinda shifty.
My wounds ail me!
Moving on, Malory would go on to escape to the Shrine of Justice, where he would meditate at the shrine before destroying it. Why did he do this? Well, in order to become King of Avalon, you must be able to wield the Sword of Kings. In order to wield the Sword of Kings, you must be a virtuous knight who has meditated at all of the knightly shrines in Avalon. However, even then, it's not even guaranteed that you'll be able to wield the Sword of Kings, because the sword itself has to consider you to be worthy enough to wield it. Which is a bit of a plot point that is never really brought up. I mean, there's no fucking way that Malory, after murdering the king, is going to be considered worthy enough to wield the Sword of Kings that allows you to become King of Avalon. So yeah, I'm pretty sure Malory's entire plan to become king was basically impossible from the start. Also, another reason why he destroyed the shrine is that in his attempt to become king, he wanted to make sure that nobody would be able to usurp him. If you can't pray to the shrines, you can't wield the Sword of Kings and overthrow Malory like how he did to King Artorius. That part is actually kinda smart. Anyways, Malory is eventually ratted out by his sister Morganth, where he's tracked down to the Shrine of Justice and executed by King Artorius himself. The king later succumbs to his mortal wounds and is prepared to cross over to the other side, aka Avalon's afterlife. In secret, Malory's younger sister Morganth sneaks into the king's chambers, where she would offer him eternal life and an end to the pain by accepting the horned crown. On the verge of death, and probably not in his right mind, the king accepts the crown, and upon having it placed on his head, Artorius is transformed into the evil Pendragon. Having been transformed into his scaly OC, the Pendragon would take command of the Froudling armies that were gathered by Sir Malory and wreak havoc across the land. Imagine trying and failing to assassinate the leader of a nation, and then the guy you just assassinated kills you, takes over the forces that you raised to overthrow him in the first place, but now he's evil and probably offers very competitive wages as well as amazing benefits like dental. Around this time, Malory's body would be placed in a grand tomb, presumably by Morganth or any of his kin. For the crime of treason, Malory would be stripped of his wealth. His deeds as well as his name would be erased from the history books, only to be remembered as the Nameless Knight. Death, however, would not be the end of the story for the Nameless Knight. During the main story of Avalon, our wizard searches for the Sword of Kings in order to combat Morganth's deck of shadows. After being told that the Sword of Kings was passed around like how your mom gets passed around between a couple dudes at a frat party, we learn that the Sword of Kings was taken into the tomb of the Nameless Knight by some Death Seraphs. After defeating some of the Ghost Knights guarding the tomb, we arrive in a puzzle room that has a large tapestry depicting the rise and fall of Sir Malory. After unlocking the puzzle, We enter a room and are greeted by the ghost of Malory himself. However, even in death, he would still be denied the Sword of Kings. It's here that we get to see the more cruel side of Malory. Malory shows no hesitation at threatening some random person foolish enough to enter his tomb, fully preparing to kill us on sight.
Who are you, child? A wizard playing at being a knight? Your quest is at an end. You found the Sword of Kings, and your demise. Ah!
Malory, this blessed weapon is not for the likes of you. I may be trapped, but I am not powerless. The sword returns with me. Your crimes will not be forgiven, nor your name ever remembered.
You did this, you thrice-doomed cur! What has become of me? What have I done? Come, let us speak in the open air. I have lost so many things. I betrayed my oaths and vows and turned on King Artorius. For this, my wealth, my few good deeds, even my name were all taken. My wrongdoing may never be forgiven, but I still have the chance to do some good in the world. I will help you on your quest.
After being defeated, Malory comes to his senses and is forced to come to terms with what he's done. Malory would seek to redeem himself by guiding our wizard to right several of the wrongs taking place in the Weird Woods. In order to gauge our level of virtue, Malory has us free a white hart that was supposedly trapped by the Foundling Village. I can't tell if he's trying to say that there's a deer trapped in a bog that happens to be next to the Foundling Village, or if he's accusing the Foundlings of trapping said deer in the bog that is next to their village. I know the narrator specifies that it looks like the poor creature stumbled into the bog itself, but something tells me that Malory isn't above making random accusations against Foundlings. But on the other hand, to his credit, Foundlings are usually up to random weird shit like that, so whatever.
I'm gonna break your wand and stuff that shiny squire badge down your gullet.
I'll smash you flat and fry you up with some hot peppers and garlic.
Let me lick your ears and see how you taste.
Anyway, after we free the albino Bambi and report back to Malory, he tells us that
You showed mercy to the poor beast. That is in fact a sign of virtue. A knight must be loyal and must swear to be true to one's family, fellow knights, and liege. It is my deepest failing. But perhaps there is someone in the world who I once aided who remains loyal to my memory. Ask Sophia Greensleeves if she remembers me.
asking Sophia Greensleeves about Malory is meant to embody the knightly virtue of loyalty, as even though Malory's crimes were grave enough to have his memory removed from history and to be forgotten by all, Sophia tells us of an encounter with Malory that she will always remember, keeping true and being loyal to his memory.
My favorite wizard. You aided me father and husband both. How can I help? Malory? I do not know. You mean Sir Malory? How could I forget? He murdered King Artorius, and that cannot be forgiven. But he saved me mother from a giant's axe. If not for him, I'd not have known her songs and laughter. For that act alone, I'll always remember Malory's name.
She remembered me without malice? That eases the pain a little.
Next, he would have us prove ourselves by defeating an evil owl mage who's been trapping unsuspecting knights by offering them false hospitality at her tower.
The law of hospitality is one of the oldest tenets of Avalon. If you invite a guest in, their safety is supposed to be sacred. The Lady of the Blue Dahlia has broken this taboo by inviting knights into her tower and then ensorceling them. Venture to the Tower of the Blue Dahlia and free her captive Sir Gerard Monmouth. Remind the lady of the laws of hospitality.
The law of hospitality states that inviting a guest into your home is supposed to guarantee their safety, and the Lady of the Blue Dahlia has been running a bed and breakfast that ends with you being enslaved as a security guard. Why? No fucking clue. She's just kind of freaky like that, I guess. Having witnessed our wizard's virtue and hospitality, Malory would ask our help in making amends for one of his own transgressions, to return the divining treasure that he once stole from the three-colored serpent, the action that led him down the path of shadow.
My road into shadow was twisted and marked with infamous deeds. I stole a divining treasure from the three-color serpent. It then fell into the claws of a spiny spriggan in the Frowdling village. As an act of justice, I need you to recover it.
Contrary to popular belief, the three-colored serpent is neither a serpent nor colored with only 3 colors. He's a fucking dragon that, by my count, has at least 7 different colors on him. There's black, purple, green, light blue, and even lighter blue, white, and then light purple. Giving the divining treasure back to the 7-colored dragon is noted to be an example of a noble deed, and as thanks, we are allowed to glimpse into the treasure to see where we must go to continue our journey. Because if you don't remember, the Lady of the Lake basically took the Sword of Kings from Malory in his crypt and then fucked off to Candyland or some shit. And instead of having us immediately start searching for the Lady of the Lake, the writers decided to have us help a known domestic terrorist redeem himself. The multicolored Drake's treasure shows us that we must find the Lost Queen hiding in a ringed fort. Because why bother being any more specific than that?
You did it. Good. The Lost Queen, you say? That can only mean your path leads to Gwendolyn. Gwendolyn can help you complete your knowledge of the Sword of Kings. She must be hiding at the Ring Fort, Dundara. I know it well. It is the ancient home of the Druids, where I grew up with my sister, Morganth. Do you know her? She was a clever child who had a smile that could melt Winter's heart, though she also had a cruel streak. Oh, ghosts and cobwebs, never mind that. Scout out the path to Dundara and tell me what you find.
Our last interaction with the Nameless Knight would see Malory instruct us to scout the path to Dundara, in order to find the widowed Queen Gwendolyn so that we may continue our quest to obtain the Sword of Kings. We are then sent to scout the path to Dundara, where we come across druids being held captive right outside a giant's tower. After going back to Malory, he tells us that the tower is named Dunescaith, home of the unspeakable indigo giant.
From what you describe, Dunscaith still stands, the home of the unspeakable indigo giant. The indigo giant has a taste for all flesh. He must be preying on travelers to Dundara. Venture into his tower and slay him. What were you expecting? A cunning plan? Then release his captives. This will show you are a friend to the druids, who can guide you on to Dundara and Gwendolyn.
Malory gets confused when we ask him if he has a cunning plan to get past the giant's tower, and he basically tells us to go fuck off and fight the giant. Because, you know, the guy who orchestrated a failed coup and technically succeeded in killing the King of Avalon could never devise a cunning plan to avoid having to fight a cannibalistic giant that preys on weary travelers. That's just fucking absurd, and quite frankly, it's pretty insulting that you would expect that of him. Later additions to Malory's story can be seen in the dungeons of Ghost Avalon and the Chamber of the Mines during the main events of Chrysalis, as well as the tapestries scattered around Avalon during the side quests from Whole Cloth. I almost included an entire breakdown of Ghost Avalon because of how relevant it is to Malory's story. However, the only thing that's really worth knowing is that none of the events of Ghost Avalon are 100% canon. The other side, where Ghost Avalon is located, is said to be a warped reflection of the real world of Avalon, and any who venture there are able to interact with it and see things play out in different ways than how it actually canonically happened. However, nothing you do inside the dungeon of Ghost Avalon has any bearing on the real world, so you kind of have to pick apart our wizard's actions during the events of Ghost Avalon and figure out what is and is not canon. The entire dungeon is a storytelling device that leaves way too much room for interpretation while allowing our wizard to go through the dungeon acting like the stalwart hero who saves the king and uncovers the sinister plot. I could absolutely go on, but I'm not going to. Who knows, maybe one day I'll do a lore breakdown of dungeons for fun. All in all, I think Malory is a very interesting character. I think the whole good guy versus evil sociopath vibe surrounding his character was a pretty interesting concept. On one side, Malory sees himself as the hero looking to save Avalon from its impending fate. And yet on the other side, pretty much every character from the Lady of the Lake all the way down to the widowed Queen Gwendolyn see Malory for what he really was. A power-hungry knight who sought to overthrow the government that had brought about the Golden Age or the world of Avalon by killing the king and usurping his throne. Even though Malory helps us get back on track with finding the Sword of Kings, which in turn allows us to restore King Artorias and defeat Morganth, I don't think that it fully absolves Malory of his sins. His evil ploy led to countless deaths and atrocities, while also unwittingly being used as a diversion by his sister Morganth to make things even worse. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video. Originally, I was thinking of remaking the Morganth lore video that I made a few years back, because looking back on it, it's really not that great of a video. But then I ended up researching Ghost Avalon and ended up just taking a different route entirely. I know it's been forever since I made a lore video. Honestly, I haven't really been interested in making videos for a while. Like, I've wanted to get around to doing them, but with life stuff coming up as much as it has these past 2 years, I kind of just put this channel on the back burner. I'm pretty lazy when it comes down to it, and this channel was always meant to be something to do for fun. I do plan on making more lore videos this year. I'm shooting for at least 3 to 4. So, sorry for the delays, and hopefully I can make this year a good year.
No, I keep whistling.